On September 13th, 2023, our fire department was called to a working apartment fire with multiple people trapped inside. Upon arrival, a victim presented from the second-story window, and fire apprentice Josh Mosley was able to perform a ground-level rescue and remove that victim from harm's way. He then re-entered the building to perform a window-based search with his crew. Simultaneously, a rescue effort was underway for the other two victims. Fire was coming out of the front door and exited across the living room, blocking the exit path for the two victims trapped in an environment that posed immediate danger to their life safety. Multiple resources were deployed to execute one of the most significant rescues in our department's history. Fire apprentice Josh Mosley and driver engineer Brad Conrado were able to locate and remove the other two trapped victims from the building. The dedication of their training and unwavering commitment to a winning mindset aided in the rescue of the three civilians trapped by fire. The culmination of hard work, training, and teamwork provided a platform for success at this incident. Their heroic effort to remove the victims from the building offered the best opportunity for survival. As with any incident in the department, this rescue would not have been successful without the whole team approach. Each assignment was accomplished to its fullest capacity without hesitation. They were focused on accomplishing their mission no matter the obstacles. Welcome back to Tailboard Misfits podcast. We're calling this the relaunch. I'm your host, John Velez, and today we have a conversation planned about a significant event that we had at our local fire department that we all work at that we just wanted to highlight and outline a little bit to hopefully add value into a little bit of the mindset and the training that took place and be able to share our experiences to hopefully just really add value to the rest of the fire service. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest today, and then we'll kind of get into an overview of a call and really just break down into the psychology of each person's role that they carried out. So to my right here, we have driver engineer Brad Conrado.
What's up?
Fire apprentice Josh Mosley, and then battalion chief Jon Johnson. And we're going to ask Chief to kind of give an overview of the call, just what we responded with, the resources we had, what the conditions were, and all the times that we had for victim location and removal. So, Chief.
Yeah, so in the early mornings, we were dispatched to an apartment fire north side of our town. The call came in, said that there was a fire in an apartment building and that there was people trapped inside. The dispatch, the tones went off. We sent 4 engines, 2 trucks, an ambulance, 2 battalion chiefs, a safety officer, and an investigator on our primary dispatch. En route, we were getting intel that one of the victims were hanging from a second-story window and that there was potential for multiple victims trapped inside. About that time, we called for additional resource of another ambulance, and that way could aid in our success of the victims. As the battalion chief arrived on scene, the first new battalion chief, he seen a 2-story apartment building, had 2 apartments up, 2 apartments down, and they were through and through. The top left apartment had fire conditions coming out of the living area, and then there was a victim that was presenting from a second-story window. He immediately upgraded the call and transmitted the second alarm, which brought an additional 3 engines, another truck, and another ambulance. So we total, we're going to have 7 engines, 3 trucks, and 3 medics that responded to this call. So as he checks on scene, he starts ordering the rescue efforts of a victim that was presenting from the second-story window, and that was executed by firefighter Mosley, was able to initiate a ground ladder rescue and remove her from that area. At the same time, our units checked on location very rapidly in sequence. So we had a lot of resources there, a lot of help from the team very quickly. They were able to stretch a line, get a line in place while rescue efforts were underway inside of the apartment. They were able to suppress swiftly the fire and initiate the search, the primary searches and the rescue for the other 2 victims. They were rapidly located in the apartment, and both of the victims, or all 3 of the victims, were removed and transferred over to medical care. So kind of a timeline of these events, and we'll get into more detail as this podcast goes. But as far as the time of events, our first engine, which firefighter Mosley was on, checked on location at 4:32. At 4:33, he initiates a ground ladder rescue. At 4:34, that victim number one is removed, and now firefighter Mosley is initiating a window-based search from that same location. Simultaneously, driver Conrado was assigned as the fire group team, and they crossed the threshold about the same time at 4:35. So 4:35, firefighter Mosley, driver Conrado are entering the apartment. One is searching, one is extinguishing the fire. At 4:36, the radio transmission as the fire is knocked down with less than a minute. At 4:38, victim number two was located and removed. At 4:39, victim number three was located and removed. All victims were completely outside of the structure at 4:40, which was 8 minutes on arrival of our first due engine, and that was for three victims. In addition, at 4:42, we captured that all three victims were loaded into an MICU ambulance and being transported to the local hospitals.
Yeah.
So total, just a 10-minute event from the time that they're going to the hospital.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Fast.
So kind of what we wanted to do is just go person to person and just give just a brief overview, and then we'll kind of dive into what each person was thinking, what kind of drove their decision making and stuff like that. So Mosley, if you want to go ahead and just give just a small recap of like what you saw when you got there, what you did, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. So pulling up on scene, we pulled past an engine. We pulled past the unit that we were going into, hopped off. I knew immediately as we were on the way when our BC said that there was a victim hanging out the window. I knew right then, we're doing search. So hopped off, grabbed a ladder. You can't really see the window, so I never saw the victim until I got past the engine with my ladder. Never saw where she was. Threw the ladder, climbed up, got her out safely, and talked to her on the way down.
So when you were making like your approach up to the victim, were you like talking to her immediately at the moment you saw her?
Yeah. The minute I saw her in the window and I saw she was looking at us, I was telling her, hey, wait for me. For me. I'm on my way. Don't move. Wait for me. And she responded.
Yeah, so she wasn't like trying to like run back in or anything like that?
No, she looked at me and said, okay.
Okay.
She responded.
On the way down, as you were walking her down, were you able to just get any more information from her? Like,
yeah, I asked her if anybody was in the house, if anybody else was in there. She told me there were two teenagers, and I asked her where. She couldn't tell me where, though. She said she didn't know.
Okay, so you got her down.
Mm-hmm. Got her down, and immediately went back up the ladder. Like, it wasn't a thought. I knew that I was going in. Went up the ladder, searched that room, closet, bathroom, into the hallway. Went left. Fire attack was on the right side in the main living space. Went left down the hallway. There's another door to that same bathroom that entered that room that we entered in. Laundry room, back bedroom. Into the bedroom, we piled in. Immediate left bathroom. Victim number two was behind the door in the bathroom.
So the door to the bedroom and bathroom are both closed, right?
Door to the bedroom and the bathroom both closed. Yes.
Okay. And she was actually behind the door. You almost had to push her out of the way.
So it was actually wet clothes.
Okay.
So when I went back and I saw that there were wet clothes shoved underneath the door. So there's a little bit of resistance, not a lot, a little bit of resistance, and I'm pretty sure that it was the clothes. She was sitting in the corner of the wall and the counter.
Okay.
Behind the door.
Was like the moment that you like put your hands on her, was it like immediate, like this is a victim, or did it kind of like take a second to really figure out what you were feeling? Because visibility was nothing, correct?
Right. Reached behind the door, and we're taught to do sweeping motions when we're doing search. So it was a sweeping motion. Like literally when I felt maybe it was her shoulder, because I know I locked on her wrist. I swept down and immediately was like, boom.
We're able to walk down, perform a ground ladder rescue, window initiated search. You make it to the master bedroom with the second victim.
Right.
Locate her. You call out victim.
Right.
And then at that point, I know Chief was coming in into the room, and you and him are able to exit the structure.
Yep,
What
Chief
was
was-
the like the exit, the removal like?
So Chief was in the room already. So he went right, I went left. Pulled her out of the bathroom, positioned her to get her out. Chief grabbed her legs for me. So we went back, the same way that we came in. We made sure her airway was down. I remember distinctively thinking about that. Airway was down. Going back through that hallway, my thought was I wanted to go out the window that I came in because I wasn't oriented to the front living space. That's not the way I came in. I knew I had a ladder. I knew I had an exit, right? So that's the exit that I was heading to. I had another firefighter, grab my pack, and he actually ended up leading me out. He was like, "Hey, nope, come this way," and he pulled me through the front. So we went out the front alpha side, down the stairs. My driver was down there and actually led me down the stairs. We took her down to the...
And so she was unconscious.
Unconscious. We started CPR as soon as we got downstairs.
And you went all the way from inside all the way out with that victim.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay, cool. Anything else that kind of stood out to you about like your point of view from the inside without going, too much into detail?
Yeah. I mean, it felt huge in there, right? The space felt humongous.
And we're talking about an 800 square foot apartment.
Right. It felt humongous. But going back in afterwards, I was like, man, it really wasn't that big.
Yeah.
But it felt humongous in there. It felt like there was a lot of space. And I think that goes to just the mindset of trying to be thorough. So we're trying to be fast, right, but meticulous and thorough when we're doing search, right? So just trying to be thorough. I remember that space feeling really big. And it wasn't as big when we go back in there.
Yeah. Something I just want to add real quick. I know this might be a little choppy and somewhat hard to follow as we're going through each of these guys' individual experiences. But just understand that a lot of this stuff was happening so quickly and so simultaneously that it is going to be just right on top of each other. So just keep that in mind as these guys are explaining their point of views and what they were doing on the inside. Driver Conrado, you guys arrived on scene. You were driving and was able to be ready. By the time you got to the top of the stairs, you were essentially assigned fire group, and you made it to the nozzle first. So if you don't mind, just walk us through what you did and what you saw when you got in there.
Yeah, so we got there. I remember checking on scene, and on the way there, we got reports of victims trapped. At that point, I didn't know that there was multiple. I just knew that there was the one from the window, and it just felt odd. We go to structure fires, but this one felt a little different, right? We had confirmed victims, which is not common for us, and so we get there, and initially we got assigned search, aid and search. So I remember just thinking at the time when we got on scene, I had my bunker pants and my hood on, and I just remember thinking I've got to get dressed as fast as possible. I got to be in there helping these guys facilitate this search. So I jump off the rig, threw my coat, my air pack on, grabbed my helmet, and started physically running to the apartment. Probably 30, 40 yards from where we parked our apparatus. As I'm running up to the building, I'm looking. I see smoke rolling out of the window. I'm trying to take in the scene and kind of build a quick layout in my head of where I think it is. I know that the door was on the right side of the apartment, so I'd figured that bedrooms are probably close to the left. As I'm running up there, I see fire coming out of the front door. Not heavily, but I see fire in the space through the front door. I make to the bottom of the landing. And I hear the incident commander tell my officer, "Hey, you guys go ahead and take fire attack." So my captain turns to me, relays the message, "Hey, we're fire attack." At that point, I was at the base of the stairs leading up to the landing of the apartment, and I got on the landing and I started masking up. Something we take a lot of pride in, being fast. And by the time I got to the top of the landing, I was masked up. A driver from the initial apparatus with Mo had already started stretching a line to that landing. We carry Minuteman in our department. That's what they had. He threw the 100-foot shoulder section onto the landing and started walking down the stairs about the time I was making it to the top of the landing. So as a driver, it's not common for us to stretch the line or be the nozzleman. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And about the time that I bent over to pick up the nozzle, I saw two guys from one of our medic units coming out. And I'm not exaggerating when I say their gear was smoking. It was starting to off-gas. Like, you could tell they were hot. And the driver on that apparatus's eyes were, big as softballs. And the dude's salty. He'll go fight fire. So when I saw him come out like that, I knew, they were getting beat up. And he just told me, he said, bro, we got as far as we could, but we need a line in there. It's too hot. So at that point in time, I remember looking around, not knowing where our tailboard was. I think he was still gearing up. I didn't see him in the immediate vicinity. And the only thing running through my head in that moment is we have to get water on this fire. We got to get it checked. I know that there's people in here. And so that was kind of my mindset walking into that. So I pick up the line. They're already starting to charge it. So we're going to do V-split down the stairs. So I ended up grabbing 2 bites and throwing them down to my officer. And he finished the stretch as water's coming up the line. I remember thinking, like, please do not make this kink city. But luckily, he was fast. He got it down the stairs. We were able to chase most of the kinks. I'm standing in the front door. I open the line, and it just starts spitting 3 or 4 feet. So I turned and hollered out, hey, let's chase kinks, make sure we don't have any kinks. And within maybe 2 or 3 seconds, boom, I felt the pressure from the nozzle, adequate flow. I'm already aiming high inside the front door, and I just started pushing in from a Camel lock position. Started pushing in probably 5 to 10 feet. And the way that I've described it is, I feel like as a nozzleman, when fighting fire in a space, we want to be methodical. We want to paint the room. I've heard Aaron Fields put it, it's Marvin Gaye, not Pantera, right? We want to take a little time, be methodical, paint those walls, paint that ceiling, sweep the space. But I remember in that moment thinking, like, I'm not trying to be as methodical as I'm just trying to buy space. I want to beat this heat back because it's cut off our search group from being able to make that back hallway. So I just remember trying to flow very quickly high and try and kill as much heat up top as I could. I remember seeing the original seat of the fire when we first checked on scene towards the right side of that space. So I remember flowing to the right side of the space, sweeping the carpet real quick, and then I pushed in probably another 5 or 10 feet. I turned around, started flowing to what I didn't know at the time was dining room and kitchen space. Started flowing water there, and then I saw some fire around the front entryway where we come in, kind of licking around a closed entryway closet door. So kind of put a little water there, and then that was out pretty quick.
That sounds pretty elaborate, but realistically, it happened. I mean, we estimated in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, so we've got some footage. You pull it back, you watch Mo jumping in the window about the time that I'm open the line to go into the space. So
I think the other thing, like, you brought up the just to clear up any questions, you brought up the medic crew that was coming out the moment that you went in. Our medic crew actually arrived on scene really first, dude. They were able to get dressed and make it up to the landing before the engine ever even, I guess, started performing the rescue. So they were actually able to search technically 3 spaces before they had to come out because their gear was so saturated. They got too hot. I think it was also important to highlight that this apartment, when you walk in through the front door, you immediately walk into the living room, right? And there was a back sliding glass. And from our estimates, that back sliding glass failed, which caused fire behavior to change and really turned on that medic crew to make them have to exit.
Rapid fire growth, yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
So real quick, I think it's important to mention, as we were talking about that medic crew, talking to them, we were at the same house, right? Talking to them, when we entered the window, they never knew we were in that room.
Right.
Because that door was closed. So before they bailed out, they said they got to that door of that room and fire was rolling over them. And they knew, and they made their decision at that moment, we got to get out. Yeah. And we were actually in the room at the same time as they got to that door and made the decision, like, we got to get out before we create more victims. Sure. And that's when they actually turned around and came out. So we're talking about stacking times, how close everything was. Yeah. That's where they were in this whole picture.
So you were flowing water,
Yeah.
kind of got a little knockdown on the fire. What else happened after that?
Yeah, so flowed water, got a pretty good knock on it pretty quick. Like I said, I wasn't, and it sounds kind of counterintuitive to say, but I wasn't going for full extinguishment. I was just trying to get it knocked to buy us that space. And I remember like going in, I knew there was people in there. And so as soon as I felt like the fire was pretty checked, like my first goal was to assure that we had guys come in behind me and start refacilitating that search, because I didn't feel anybody go behind me. Hindsight, I found out we did, right? I didn't realize that they had gone beyond the door with a window-based search. So I remember putting the nozzle down and just starting to crawl down that hallway just to make sure that guys were back there. And it happened so fast. Like, I started walking down the hall. I put the nozzle down. I started walking down the hall. My officer and our tailboard at that point were on the line. You know, I passed it off to him. Started walking down the hall, and as soon as, you know, you probably make 10 feet from where I set the nozzle down, it makes a 90 towards the Charlie side, towards that back bedroom, and I heard, "We have a victim." So I yelled back, "We have a victim," and then I heard it again. So I turned to my officer and that tailboard firefighter, and I hollered out, "Victim, victim, victim," to which I believe that captain pretty quickly got on the radio and transmitted over the radio, "Victim, victim, victim." As soon as I said that, I hollered, "Victim, victim, victim." I turned down the hallway, and all I could see at the time due to visibility was, I was squatted pretty low, and I could see boots with reflective. I didn't know who it was. So I started making my way down the hallway to aid in trying to give some direction to get out. As soon as I started making my way down the hallway, I got hit by a freight train, which hindsight found out it was Mo trying to get that victim out, him and Chief. And so I remember just being in the way. I kind of got hemmed up in between the wall and the threshold to that bedroom, and I kind of just got in almost the fetal position and just tried to be as still as possible because they were walking all over me. At the time, I thought it was the victim that was like kind of stepping on me. So I just remember trying to be as still as possible, like, don't move, don't make it harder than it already is. So they passed me. As soon as they got past me, I heard a captain that was with Mo, still in that bedroom, holler out, "Hey, I need help finishing this search." So I'm standing right there in the threshold, so I hollered back to him, "What needs to be searched?" And he replied with, "They found the victim in the bathroom." So at the time, visibility was still not great. I mean, a couple feet, you could probably see in front of you. So if that. So I push in the bedroom. I'm searching down the left side. I can kind of hear where his voice is, so I'm kind of moving to that space. As I'm moving down the left wall in the threshold, probably 5-6 feet, I kind of turn, and I could see through the smoke like 5 or 6 vanity lights, and I recognized pretty quick, okay, those are vanity lights, this is a bathroom. So I push in the bathroom, I feel the floor, I feel the change from carpet to linoleum, like, okay, I'm in a bathroom. So I move to that left-hand wall, and I start moving down that left-hand wall, and pretty quickly I hit the bathtub, and I reach inside the bathtub, and immediately I feel something, and we talk about transferable experience. Like, the cool thing about that is the immediate thought that went through my head was something that a driver at another station had told me about a grab he'd made years prior, which was when they found that victim, he patted all over them, and it just felt like a bag of wet clothes. And so I felt in the bathtub, and immediately I felt, and the first thought was wet clothes. So I throw my face in the bathtub, and there they were.
And the water was running, right?
The water was running. The bathtub was full. They were in the bathtub. The only thing of the victim that was sticking out, their feet and body was completely submerged, and their head was kind of wedged in the corner, and they were kind of slumped over. So, you know, we talk, expect fire, expect victims, and I preach that pretty hard. But I'll tell you that it surprised me. It really did. Like, I know we'd had the window-based rescue. I'd heard another rescue inside, which I didn't realize at the time there were people inside. And then so I find this third victim, and you know, if you watched me in real time, like, you probably wouldn't have ever noticed, but there was 100 thoughts that ran through my head. Like, holy crap, like, why is there a third victim in here? Like, what is going on? I mean, like, truly what's going on? And then I start thinking, like, is this a crime scene? Like, is this person shot? Do I need to touch them? Like, do I need to move them at all? I immediately get up under the victim and try to get him out of the bathtub. I got him on the side of the bathtub and kind of resting on my knee in the bathtub, when all of a sudden, boom, I feel another fireman kind of come up on me on the right and start grabbing legs. And I just remember, I don't think I was freaking out, but I was getting a little excited, like, hey, this is a kid, we need to get him out, which hindsight, I probably was getting a little amped.
Sure.
I wanted to get him out, and I remember very cool, very calm, very collected. It was Chief, and he said, hey, this is Chief Johnson, let's get him out. And then my next thought was I immediately got calm, but what on earth is a battalion chief doing in this bathroom right now, helping facilitate this rescue? Like, okay. So I'm just like, cool, boom, like, let's do it. So he grabs legs, dirty drag style. I grab the arms. We start turning out of the bathroom. He's going feet first. We start making our way in the bathroom, or out of the bathroom, and we kind of get jammed up in the bedroom. One of the officers tells us, hey, you're starting to go the wrong way. So we kind of go out of the bathroom and then kind of rotate, and I start going head first out the bedroom door, what we came. And I remember thinking, like, well, holy crap, like, if we found a third, and that surprised me, like, I know there's got to be more. I just remember having the thought, like, there's probably more in there. That captain needs help. And so luckily there was an officer that was standing right there close to the door, and I told him, I said, hey, grab her arms and let's get her out. So I passed her off, and then immediately went back down the hallway, back down towards the back bedroom. I finished searching the bathroom, swept the bathtub again. It was empty, obviously. Behind the door of the bathroom, searched the bedroom real quick. And then after that, in my head, it starts to get a little foggy. I want to say at that point, I came back down the hallway, and I think I just kind of glanced, saw a laundry room, saw a bathroom. I wasn't actively searching it at that point. I could see a fireman in the front bedroom, searching that front bedroom. And I remember I just walked out.
So your actions kind of are intertwined with what Mosley's were, and then it kind of carried on past that.
Yeah.
So you were flowing water, and the visibility at the time was zero. At what point were you able? Like, I know, like, when Mosley went into the bathroom, visibility was nothing. When you went into the bathroom, you were able to see the vanity lights.
Yeah.
Do you remember, like, at what point, like, visibility got to a point where it was like you can kind of see what stuff is as long as you're low in the space and you're good? Mm-hmm. Like, do you remember, like, time wise, like, how long that took?
I really don't. I mean, I remember seeing the vanity lights, but again, like, it was almost like you're looking for, like, a lick of fire through smoke. Like, it wasn't super clear what they were. I could just tell they were kind of, like, spaced out to where my brain recognized, like, those are vanity lights. Visibility still wasn't great.
So
like,
as you're carrying the victim out, visibility still...
Yeah, I don't think, like, so obviously when I found the victim, like, I had to put my face basically touching the bathtub in the water to be able to see that victim. Until we got out of the bedroom and started to make that 90 is where I could actually start to see her face without really having to get down on it.
And obviously, just for the audience, like, once you make that corner, that's when it kind of, the apartment opens up, and we did have the failed sliding glass window. The front door was
well
open,
vented,
so
yeah.
They had already cut a hole, like, ventilation was there. Mm-hmm. Cool. So, Chief, we kind of heard a little bit of your story as well, because it was intertwined with these guys. If you don't mind, just, like, walk us through. We try to fill in some gaps and, like, what took place when you got there.
Yeah, so I just want to first say, I mean, like, that's amazing. Those stories are amazing. These guys did such a good job, and just proud. It's almost hard to speak after listening to that. There's a lot that went on this call, all at the same time. Mm-hmm. We had the entire city, 7 engines, 3 trucks, and 3 medics, and everyone was working at the same time to accomplish the same goal, and it was to remove those victims. So, going back to the medic that went in there, I mean, they made the most intellectual decision to do what they did. They were able to search 3 spaces, but then was experienced enough to make the decision that to come out of the space because they were going to become victims themselves. We could have had a mayday very easily in that situation had they not made the appropriate decision. And had any of the victims been in 3 spaces plus half of a hallway, they got them. You know, so my hat's off to them as well through this whole, and just the team alone. You know, everybody played such a big role in the success of it. I'll tell you kind of just my personal experience of what happened on the call. I'm going to be the second chief on the scene, so I know I'm not going to be running incident command. As I'm going in here, the call starts developing pretty intensely, and things are getting a little bit more complicated, and it's going to take a lot of resources to execute what's going on. And initially, when I heard that we had 1 victim from a window, and okay, like we got this. It's something that we'll be able to take care of with a couple of units. The first couple of units will be able to execute this. And as we're responding to the call, we get more intel, and they say that there's 2 more victims and possible multiple victims inside, and that's what's transmitted over the radio. The 1st New Battalion gets there, and he's setting up incident command. He's doing his size up. He's giving us an idea of what we got. And he did confirm through him that 1 victim from the window and 2 more trapped inside. So we knew we had a total of 3. So like I said earlier on the call, or on the overview, is all of our units are getting there at the same time. I mean, our 4 engines and 2 ladder trucks were there within a minute of amongst everyone. Everybody just piled in there really quick. So there's a lot of assignments having to be delegated really rapidly. And the incident commander, as I'm approaching the scene and I'm turning on the block, he's assigned already 4 units to search. So that's a lot of people, you know. In an organization, you know, your span of control and, you know, the amount of resources on one function, that was a lot. That was a lot of resources to one goal. So I thought that time where we have to anticipate what our assignment is going to be and where are we going to best benefit the situation, you know, as the chiefs. So at that time, I really thought that the best place was to be able to be a supervisor, oversee the rescue itself. And so that was what I was anticipating. As I get bunked out, I get my air pack on, I take off running, which you said it was 30 yards, I felt like it was 200 yards, or maybe a mile, you know. But as I'm running to the call, trying to take everything in, and once I get to the bottom of the stairs, the incident commander is standing to my left. And we just locked eyes, and we didn't say a whole lot. I just pointed up as the guys were stretching the line up the stairs, and he said, "You're going in." So we knew exactly kind of what each other was thinking and what we was going to do. So really, I know that 4 units have been assigned to search, but I really don't know who's inside yet. You know, I'm getting dressed, so I don't know how much time has elapsed. I don't know how quickly I've got my gear on. And so now I'm going to, you know, ascend the stairs and go up. As soon as I'm going up the stairs, this part's a little foggy. I think I was masking up as I was walking up the stairs. I just remember when I got to the top of the landing, I just had 1 glove to put on, and that was it. So as I'm getting about halfway up the stairs, I see driver Conrado open the line. So he's discharging right at the threshold to the fire, and the fire is venting out heavily from the alpha side. As soon as he opens up, my thought was, I have to get to his left. We know the bedrooms. We know that not even the bedrooms, but the majority of the structure is going to be to the left. We have 2 up, 2 down. It's the top left. We know everything is going to be to the left and beyond that. So I said, as soon as he crosses that threshold, I'm going to go to his left and try to meet up with the search team, because I think they're inside at this time. I'm behind the 8 ball, like I think I'm last. So he opens up and swiftly, I'm saying 20 seconds, 25 seconds, the fire is killed. It's over with. There was so much heat and smoke that was exhausting through the front door. It was very intense, and as soon as he opened up, I never felt heat. I never once felt heat when I'm going through the space. So that's how quickly he was able to change the environment. The rear slider was filled, so we had a big exhaust out the rear, which helped out with that too. So he opened up. I go immediately to his left. I look down to my left, and it's lights out. And I thought one of my mentors from Houston said that he's located all of his victims low, on the ground. And I remember that being a thought in my mind was get low. So I put my face on the floor, and it was lights out. Like there's not even an air gap low, so I can't see, but maybe a foot is all I could see. I couldn't see down a hallway or see where doors were. I thought I'd seen a boot to my left, so I was like, that's the search team. They're kind of jammed up in the hallway, so I'm going to search the living room really quick since he just achieved knockdown, because I didn't think I'd be an asset just stacked up. Sure. So I swept the living room. Within a few seconds, it wasn't long, I go to the rear slider, I see it's gone, and I immediately do a 180, and I go down to the hallway where I think the search teams are. I get there, and there's nobody in the hallway. So keep making my way down to the intersection where they said that hallway 1 meets hallway 2. Bedroom 1, bathroom 1 is in the corner of where that 90 is. And as I'm crawling on the ground and searching, I felt and seen a boot. And I stood up and said, hey, this is Chief Johnson. I'm here with y'all for search. What have you done? It ended up being Mosley that I intercepted. He calmly says, Chief, we just searched the bedroom and the bathroom. We made it in the hallway, and we haven't found anybody yet. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, let's go. So I back up just a little bit. Somehow on the stairs, someone told me that what we were looking for. We were looking at 2 and how old they were. So I knew that intel. So as soon as I raced up to the stairs, I said, hey, everybody, we're looking for these 2 individuals. And make my way there. So I knew in the search that we did have confirmed 2. So here Mosley is. My objective to be the inside chief was to bring some calmness to the call. We got 4 units. I don't know if anybody's been part of an intense search, but it's very chaotic. It's very loud. There's a lot of people going to a lot of spaces. There's a lot of things being thrown around, by accident. It's pretty significant. So I was like, I'm going to try to bring some calmness to that, and not being arrogant or anything, but I trust these individuals with my life, and I know that they trust mine as well. And I was hoping that would just help out, be beneficial. So I go up and I talk to this fireman and I say, hey, this is Chief Johnson, how you doing, And he calmly repeats back, and I was like, he's making me way more calm than I'm ever making him calm. Like, how is he calming me down?
We did talk about that, though, about realistically, how huge that was, because not saying that Mosley was, but he could have been, operating way up here. And just you making contact with him and just saying, this is Chief Johnson, someone that, we all have a relationship with, we trust you. And it could have, I'm not saying it did, but I'm just saying, it could have brought him from up here as really quickly. Okay, Chief's here, we're good.
Yeah.
And obviously he already talked about that. So same thing with Brad here. It's it's Chief. Yes, why is Chief in here? But we're good. Let's go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's important, but you never think that you're gonna see a chief or a white helmet in there in search or on fire attack with you.
Yeah, it's super uncommon here.
It's very uncommon, right? So I recognized his voice before I even saw who it was talking to me. I definitely recognized who was talking to me, and then I turn around and I'm like, bro, that's a white helmet.
Yeah.
Chief, what are you doing in here?
Yeah.
Oh snap! I had Chief with me. Bet, but I wasn't amped up, but I definitely felt secure.
Yeah.
And stronger. You know what I mean? It's something like that when you see your general on the battlefield with you, in the fight with you. Bro, you can't lose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I definitely thought and felt that in the moment.
So Chief, at this point, I know you're and Mosley's story kind of intertwine. Mm-hmm. To kind of loop them together, y'all make entry into that bedroom. Mosley goes left, he finds the bathroom. You went straight to the bed?
Yes. So we met up, and like I said, he's making me way more calm than I am anything. I was like, man, he just calmed me down. Like, now I'm good. One of the things I want to emphasize, though, is kind of a lesson learned. So he gives me the intel. He says what they've done, what they found, and where are they going. We're hitting it. And he gave that so specific. I remember, this is like squared away. Like, he is so squared away. So let's go. I didn't know that there was another fireman in front of him because, look, Mosley's really big.
Yeah.
He's taking up the whole space.
Tell me about it.
But he did hit, there's a laundry room prior to the rear bedroom. And he hit that. And so I'm last in line. I'm behind him. So I go ahead and sweep that laundry room as we're making entry into the rear. But I know that we're looking for victims. So anything I touched, I had to verify, is that a person? You know, so every clothes, every object that you touched, it felt like a person because that's what you're looking for. Mosley identified that there was a closed bedroom door, and it's lights out. Like, I don't even know how y'all seen a foot because I couldn't see anything. It was lights out for me. I could just see, like, you know, his silhouette, you know, as we're low and we're going in. He finds the door. He goes through the door. I don't know if he opened the door, but the door opened. You know what I mean? The door came open. Immediately, he goes to wall 2, and I know this, so I want to go straight to where the bed is. And that's what we were taught in training. And in my mind at that moment, the class that we took in Denver was, this is how you search a bed and this is where you go. How high are they in space and how, you know, close proximity of the fire. So I went straight to the bed, and I dove on the bed, and I start sweeping the bed, and I hear him to the left. And he's sweeping the wall. He comes up to a door. I sweep the bed, and I knew I was going to find the victim. I knew the victim was going to be on the bed, like in my mind. And I didn't find, originally my initial sweeps weren't there, so I grabbed all the blankets and I put them to the middle, and I picked up for weight in the blanket. And as soon as I picked up, he goes, "Hey, Chief, we got one." And I'm like, okay. And they were behind the door, like he was saying. But as soon as he said that, I'm right at the corner of the bed, right next to wall 2, and the victim's already there. Like, I don't know how he got the victim out so fast, but at my feet is a victim. I can't see the victim at all. So I say, okay. And as soon as I said, okay, and I reached down to feel for the victim, it was transmitted on a radio, victim, victim, victim. And I kind of thought that, like, that was my job, you know, kind of thing. Like, who did that, you know? I'm not doing anything that I set out to do. You know, I'm going to bring some calmness, and I'm going to talk on the radio. And I didn't do any of those, either of those. So I reached down, and at that very moment, I know we have 2 people trapped inside. And here's one of them. And I had a decision to make, and it was the hardest decision, is, am I going to help Mosley take this victim out, or am I going to continue searching? And that was a very difficult, still to this day, decision that I made. I decided to help him because 1,000 thoughts will go through your mind in just a split second. It's just very weird to describe how much went through our minds. But I thought, if he gets lost, if he goes the wrong way, if he gets delayed, then this, that we know the victim is here, is not going to get out as efficient. So I thought that I knew as soon as I crossed the threshold and I went through the living room, there are firemen in the living room. I know that. So I said, if I can just make it to the living room, there's firemen, there's help. The cavalry's coming, you know. So I reached down and felt legs and immediately just went right behind their knees, and he had the victim positioned in the supine position, already just ready to go. You know, I just really reached down and grabbed behind the legs. And I said, I said, "You ready?" And he was ready. And then out we go. And we're going. And it's almost to the point where I want to tell him to slow down, but you can't. You know, It's like, you're not going to say that. You're not going to be that. But we are moving. We are moving so fast. And we go right down to hallway 2 and boom, meet the 90. And so I'm following him. I trust him. I trust that he knows where he's going. And he initially was wanting to go out the window. So I'm literally just falling. I'm just following him and helping keep the victim low but off of the ground and just try to get a speedy exit. The firefighter, the senior firefighter, grabbed him and aided him a different way out. It ended up being a very efficient way out, so good job on his part, you know. So here we go. We're moving. We're moving, and this is never a stop. I don't even know that fireman's leading him out. I'm just holding on, skiing behind the victim, if you will. I get to the living room, and I see a fireman, so now I'm going to pass off the victim, and I'm going to try to get back as fast as I can. So he's going, and I'll have to tell this part because I think that, you know, our faults is just as important as, you know, what we did. But as I masked up, I'm the instant commander 99% of the time. We don't do inside chiefs a lot, so I keep my chin strap above my helmet, and I keep it locked on there so it's not in my way and it's not in my vision. That's how it was that night. So I knew my helmet was going to fall off. Whenever we came out of bedroom 2 with victim 2, my helmet fell off. Now I don't have a helmet on. So we get to the door, and I'm trying to hand off, and we're going. We're moving. We're basically running through this house, getting this victim out very efficiently. And I passed off to the firefighter and tripped on the hose or fireman or clothes or whatever debris that was in the living room, and I face plant right into the wall, like hard. You know, I was like, oh, I wish I had a helmet on. That would have been nice. You know? But, you know, it was just one of those moments. It just happened, and it was what it was. So I immediately just stood up, did a 180, and just ran. And I tried to kind of dive under the smoke and got back on all fours to hallway 1 and back to the bedroom as fast as I can. Mosley continued with the victim with the other firefighter, and they're down and they're giving patient care. So as I got low, I can see a little bit now, but I still can't see, like when the smoke starts banking down and you get that long view. You can see under the smoke, but you just can't see far under the smoke. Mm-hmm. So you could see like some carpet or some flooring. Mm-hmm. That's it. I immediately go right back to the bedroom. Within just a few seconds, I'm right back into the bedroom. And I didn't pass anybody. I didn't pass any search crews. I know we got 4 units assigned to search. Well, they end up being in other spaces. Bedroom 1, bathroom 1, living room, kitchen. They didn't know those spaces had already been searched. So they are effectively trying to find. I get back into the bedroom, and I go immediately back to the bed because I haven't finished the bed, and hear Conrado in the bathroom, and he yells, victim, victim, victim. So I immediately go into the bathroom, and I remember hearing the water running, which was odd, and still lights out for me. I couldn't see until we got right up on it, and we got the victim and start exiting. So as we came out, this is the 4th time that I've been down the hallways. Mm-hmm. The 4th time, so I'm being exited the 4th time. And as we came out of the bathroom, instead of making the 180 back towards the door is on the corner of wall 1 and 2. That's where the hallway and bedroom door is. As we kind of turned with the victim, I think it kind of pushed me at a 45, and we were making our way out. So that's why we got pushed to wall 1 and not out the door. But Conrado was able to, you know, very efficiently just change positions, and now he's leading. And out we go. I didn't even feel him pass the victim off. We got outside, and it wasn't him, and I was kind of a little bit shocked. But as I'm exiting and I get to the living room, I know that we have 2, and I'm pretty confident that the 2 is what we're going to, all that was going to be in there. So I decided to go all the way out with this victim. Mm-hmm. Last time it didn't work out too good, passing it off. So I said, I'm gonna hold on. We start descending the stairs, and I can see patient care being given on the side, and everything starts opening up. You can see outside. We're descending the stairs. And I was like, please don't go down these stairs as fast as Mosley did. Yeah. Because we're moving. And we pass off to care, medical care.
So to kind of sum up the rest of it, like obviously the incident didn't stop there. We ended up clearing the rest of the space, probably double check, triple check. You know, there was a lot of searching going on just to make sure, and everything happened pretty quickly. I kind of had a question for Mo because something I think super important to highlight is you're an older guy, but you're still super young into your fire service career. So how long have you been on the job?
2 years now.
2 years now. Okay. So haven't had just like a lot of exposure to fire, if that makes sense. But you were able to perform at a pretty high level. Like what do you think aided in your ability to do that?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things. So for one, playing football on a high level was a big thing for me. I always say that I try and live life like a linebacker, right?
Word.
Straight up, right? But playing, I didn't, when I got to college ball like really changed how I saw the game and the approach, and then it made it bigger than the actual game itself for me. So it kind of applies here in the same sense. And we're talking about a scene or an event. There's so much that happens before, like leading up to, and then even after, right, that impacts how you perform in that moment, right? So it made me value practice more, right? Training more, right? Watching film, like breaking it down. So analyzing, going back over what happened, right? And going step by step and actually looking at, the smallest things, right? And what we can change, what we can fix, what we can make it better. Yeah. It added a lot of value to that. I remember watching more practice film than game film. Like it was a huge difference. You know what I mean? Just watching what you're doing on tape more than
they're doing.
Than what they're doing, because that's what matters. And like I said, practice.
Yeah.
Practicing how you play. A lot of people think that's a cliche statement. People say and they use that all the time. I mean, that is the real deal, right? Especially when like this event happened at 4 a.m, right? So we're dead sleep. Like you don't have time to think, and you don't have time to get hyped up and get ready.
Sure.
Like you're going to do what you always do in those moments, right? You're going to do what is habit and what is seared into your brain. You're going to react the way that you always react in situations that mimic the situation you're in. Yeah. So that's practice. You practice how you play, right? So anytime we did training evolutions, I mean, y'all guys trained me on mask up. I remember getting hired, and y'all were teaching mask up. And it was funny because like before we even started, y'all wanted a race, and y'all were going to time. And I'm like, man, bet that I'm in. Like I'm trying to race y'all. Yeah, like right now. You know what I mean? So when I train or when I practice, when we're doing search, when we're doing ladder throws or whatever, like I'm visualizing a victim. I'm recreating the worst possible environment that I need to accomplish this task in when I'm training and when I'm doing that. It's real every single time.
If you've been, and I know that both of y'all have been at a training with Mosley and yourself, you can feel Mosley, how real he's making it in his mind.
The intensity of it, yeah.
It is intense. He's yelling. He's communicating loudly. He's not just going through motions. Like he is going through, in his mind, the real deal. That training evolution to you, and I can feel it just being around you, is real. And even taking it a step further is not only is that real, but that's my house, that's my kids, and I am that serious about it. I'm looking for my kids. And that's just in training.
Yeah.
It's super huge though, because the quotes like, you don't rise to the level of occasion, you fall to the level of your systems. And he's building, what we all try to do. Mo's just really great at it. He's building those systems that he's going to fall back on. And so that's why in the moment, he's able to communicate effectively to a victim hanging out of a window. He's able to mask up quickly without, you're able to throw a ladder just second nature. There wasn't a whole lot of thinking going on. Like, I know we had the conversation about like football and how it helped you. And I was sitting there thinking about it, like, I knew that you played, collegiate football, and I was like, man, like, I know that had to help. Like, I wasn't the best at football, but I feel like I was a smart football player, and just being able to pick up on visual cues and make a decision like that, right? Like, that's where the NFL players make their money, is they're able to react to a situation like that and not think about it because they've seen it so many times through practice. I thought that was huge, what you said just now about not watching just game film, but practice film. Record yourself doing stuff, right? Like, pick up on where you could improve it. But something that you told me that, like, I wanted you to share because I thought it was, like, great, is like, you told, and I'm going to let you try to finish it, but I want to kind of lead you there, is you said whenever your defense was in, like, a high-level situation, you used to tell them something. Do you remember what that was?
Oh, Yeah, I got so many sayings. I can only imagine when this drops. My guys, my linebacking core. You know what I mean? I had some soldiers, right? They could quote it every day. I had multiple, but one of the main ones that I would tell everybody, and I would tell the whole team this. I'd be walking up and down the sideline. It's not too high, not too low.
Yeah.
And it's a disposition, right? Not too high, not too low. Coaches like to say, act like you've been there, you know, especially the old coaches that aren't player coaches, you know, they don't want you celebrating in the end zone and stuff like that. They want you, hey, just go hand the ball to the ref, act like you've been there, come back, you know. But honestly, I think it goes further than that, right? It goes further than just your successes, because all they're thinking about is the flag and you being overhyped during their success. But, like, we fight so many battles, and there's some small details that we miss, and there's mistakes, right, that can stick with you. So not too high, not too low is exactly that, right? So we might do something great, right? Well, I don't believe in resting on your laurels. You know what I mean? Like, the moment you can be an overcomer, but the moment you stop overcoming, like, you're no longer an overcomer, right? You're no longer a conqueror the moment you stop conquering things, right? So once we do something good, yes, great, cool, but we can't rest on that. So don't get that high. Then we make a lot of mistakes, like I said too, though, right? It's always next play, right? Next play, next play, next play, right? So you can make that mistake, and you could be so down on yourself, it will change the entire. You'll never make another play, right? You'll never make the right decision again if you're focused on the one that you missed last time, right? And it's gone. You can't do anything about it. So not too high, not too low. Stay even keel, right? I'm gonna be right here the entire time, right? I've been here before. You say I'm a young guy, right? I'm young in the service for sure. But every call I go on, whether it's a medical call or a fire scene, whatever, I act like I've been here for 30 years, right? Not in an arrogant way, not at all, right? But I'm gonna act like I've been here before, right? Because my disposition is going to filter, right? It's going to saturate the environment. We all play a big part in that, right? For the patients and my teammates, right? So they're going to feed off of me just like I'm feeding off of them. You know what I mean?
That's good.
I think like the not too high, not too low, just to draw some comparison, man, it's like if you're up too high in the situation you're in, you push the door open and you don't sweep the wall because you're just like in go, right? Like, but if you're too low, like you're moving way too slow, maybe you don't, get the victim out in time, to have the success that we did. I just thought that part was like super huge for me. Like I've thought about that several times, like not too high, not too low.
Yeah, that's good.
There's no redos, there's no mulligans, we have to get this right. And whenever you're saying that, and we talked to each other about that, that was a commonality. It's like, we can't pass, we have to be thorough, we have to be swift, but we have to execute.
Yeah.
We don't get another chance.
As fast as it was developing, I can remember so many details. And I remember talking to you about that. I remember bailing in the window because I was first in, bailed in that window. I remember standing up. I was like, it's hot. I got back down. I remember wiping my mask twice. Didn't work. I'm like, all right, I'm not doing that again, right? In that moment, right then and there, I remember my own voice, right? I also believe in speaking to yourself, right? Speaking it out loud. While you're going through actions, and you probably hear it when I'm training too, I say what I'm doing while I'm doing it. I remember my own voice. I don't know if it was my head, if I was really talking out loud at this moment, but I'm like, hey, Joshua, all right, this is it. Okay, this is what we train for. This is how firefighters die, by making mistakes in an unknown environment. It's hot, right? Zero viz. There's victims, risk a lot, right? So we're going to risk a lot because I know there's life in here.
Let's go.
Right? The environment is terrible, right? But that doesn't matter. So I was like, hey, let's do this right the first time, right? So we can go home, right? I remember just being raised by my father, right? If he asked me to do something, boy, you better do it right the first time, right? Or he's going to come find you and stop you doing whatever you're doing, and you're going to come back, and you're going to do it again. When we're in this line of work, we don't get a chance to do it again, right? Yeah. There is no do it again. So we got to do it right. We got to do it right the first time. Yeah.
I think like something I've thought about several times is like, I remember in like fire academy, I thought that like all the time, like every day we're going to go to a house fire, we're going to pull people out like that. It's dramatized in Hollywood, right? Like, so I thought that. But realistically, like there's several firemen that never will get the chance to put their hands on a victim and pull those people out. And that's why we have to stay ready. That's why every single person sitting here is like way into the job than I would say like the normal person, if you will. And we've kind of talked about some of like the trainings and stuff like that, like outside of our department. And I guess this is more directed towards you two. How big of a role do you feel like outside classes, and what classes specifically were they that played like a pivotal role in this situation and our success here?
I'll let you start.
Like that, the success of that fire doesn't happen without outside training on my part. I have thought about this fire so much, and like it all happens so fast, but I can pull back pretty much every skill that I accomplished on that fire ground and link it to a class that was attended in the last, 8 to 10 years of my fire service career. And like from pulling the air brake, hearing we have victims running to the fire, right? My wife, my house, my family, right? That mentality going into it, like this is my family, right? And running to that, but also being aware of trying to take in the fire scene and not going so fast that I miss something and I'm not reading the structure, reading fire behavior. Like both of those skills, right? Brothers in battle, right? We get to the fire. We get to the people. That's what we're there for. We're there for them. We're there to serve, and we're there to make a difference. And we got to act aggressively, swiftly. But also a class that I went to here recently with FTTN and truck operations, like Tim Klett also saying, like, man, we can run, but you got to be careful. You don't want to run so fast that you miss something on a fire ground and you're not reading the structure and reading fire behavior. To me, making it to the landing and masking up from the time I was at the base of the stairs to the top of the stairs, that's a skill I learned in Brothers in Battle Beyond the Door, right? Like masking up is a thing, and we need to be good at it. We need to be fast at it, and it aided in me getting that much quicker to the line. Grabbing the Minuteman hose pack and doing a reverse stretch, a V-split. I learned it nozzle forward, right? That's a skill. That's a class. Entering the space and flowing from the Camella lock, that's a class that Brian Brush gave that I attended, right? Understanding the Camella lock in those positions and getting in good body positions to be able to move and flow effectively, right? Nozzle classes I've attended, nozzle forward, right? We want to hit high. We were looking for cooling, return, and lift, right? I'm looking for those. I'm trying to cool that space. The mindset behind placing the line between the fire and the potential victims, right? It's a class I learned through Brothers in Battle, right? Making sure that I put that line in a good place. From searching, right? The tripod position, searching through that space. That's a technique that I learned at a class, right? Dirty drags, getting the victim out of the space. That's something I learned from a class. Like everything that I did on that fire ground, it can be linked to a point in my career, whether it be a class or somebody that attended a class and learned a skill and taught me and passed on that information. Like, it's just like I owe a lot to training.
Absolutely.
And training's serious, right? Like we want to brush it off or think that we have our heads wrapped around it. Like reps is what wins, and we got to constantly be repping these things, right? There's no complex skills on the fire ground, right? We've heard that, and there's nothing on that fire ground that I did that was complex. But had I not put those reps in and been polished, it could have been a different outcome. It could have not been as fast. It could have not been as effective. So
I thought what was cool about obviously we ourselves have had several other conversations besides this one about this incident, and like you made the comment, like something like you said, like every single thing that you did, like subconsciously, it was like I learned this here, I learned this here, I learned this here, like every single thing that you did, and so like I thought that was big. Chief, do you have anything to add to that?
And you thought about it in the moment,
right?
He mentioned Brothers in Battle Beyond the Door, like sweep, don't pat soft surfaces, but you get to a hard surface, pat the surface, you don't knock things over. But in the moment, like I thought the words Brothers in Battle, like I thought what they were teaching in theirs. I'll add a little to that because obviously we attend a lot of the same training, all of us do. But I got to go all the way back to, Captain Valerie for myself. Like I owe a lot to, he taught me how to take the job serious. And that was my first interaction with this is for real. And what we do matters and how we perform matters. So I kind of take it all the way back to there. And he's developed into me or mentored me in a way of just the right mindset to approach things amongst a lot of other things that we won't get into. But and then classes like, I've been so fortunate to be able to develop relationships with some very impactful people in the fire service and get to gravitate to them and learn from them. Anywhere from Chief Phillips, his name crossed my mind as I entered the door. Chief Phillips told me to stay low, and we know to stay low, right? But to reiterate that basically in my head is what he transferred to me. And then, Chief Turpak about what goes in, what building layouts, back to Valerie teaching me about how to label walls. All of that played a huge impact in just what transpired in the 3 minutes that we were in there. In some ways it felt 30 minutes, in some ways it felt 10 seconds. It's kind of weird to explain, but I do think if there is one thing to kind of pinpoint, and we spoke with the individual that runs Brothers in Battles, their course, VS Beyond the Door, completely could have changed, if we didn't take that class, could have changed me personally, how I performed in that.
100%.
What I did. Yeah. So we owe the success a lot to that specific class. Now there's a lot of other ones. I love nozzle forward. Obviously I didn't get to do that. That'd been fun. But even nozzle forward, there's moments where we think, how does Aaron Fields teach? He teaches about the whole process and the right mindset and what you do. It's beyond the nozzle and it's beyond the hose movement. So I just contribute all of it to all of those mentors, all of the things that we learn, and then we learn from each other through a regular basis, and we don't really realize how much we learn from each other too. So
I also just know from conversations how far that you guys have came personally, within your fire service career, but also our department and the culture that we have now. You mentioned mentors and mentorship, and I know we've had this conversation, but how do you think, whether it be Chief Phillips or whoever it may be for you, how big of a role did those mentors play just in being able to take the job seriously and to knowing what we do matters and encouraging us to go to outside classes? How big of a role do you think that mentorship played?
It doesn't happen without mentorship. We don't put enough respect and pay enough respect to what mentorship is in the fire service. I think we talk about a senior man, and I feel unfortunately in a lot of pockets of the American fire service that's starting to get a little lost, and it's our responsibility to hold on to that. And what is a senior man? That's a mentor, right? My job as a fireman is not just to protect life and property, but is to make sure that we're setting up the next generations of the fire service for success. And I talk about classes, but also too, he has Captain Valerie, Stephen Winchell for me, right? We have people in our lives, in our career that have made it okay to be a good fireman. They've shown us it's okay to be into the job. It's okay to take this serious because it is serious. And because those people imparted so much wisdom on me and gave me the roadmap of what it looks like to be mentored and to mentor, now I've had the ability to make an impact on other people, right? Mo's making window-based grabs that he learned through mentorship, right? The guy's got a little bit of time on the job, and you put me in his position with my tenure where our culture was when I first started, it's nothing close to what happened, right? We're probably not going in a window on a ladder, right? So I think it's huge. I think it definitely aided in the success of the fire. And
it's also with the mentorship, something that I've found super valuable over my few years here is the value of shared experiences. We're fairly blessed. We see a good amount of fire, but there's people that work in areas where they never see fire, and they have to learn from experiences like this, from experiences of guys at Dallas, Houston, FDNY, whatever. Insert where people are seeing a good amount of fire, actually getting to really fulfill their calling. The mentorship that they are exposed to through shared experiences, whether it be through a formal mentorship like Chief with Captain Valerie, you with Winchell, but also like the informal mentorship of these shared experiences, watching the podcast and listening to that. Something that you said that I would really love like to segue into it because it's awesome. There are people that are never going to get to do this. There are going to be people that don't respond to fire nearly as much as some other places do. You've gone to a significant amount of fires, Chief, or of trainings, as well as Chief has. What does it feel like to have all that training and the time you spent and the money you spent validated in literally a 10-minute period? Like, what does that feel like?
Man, incredibly affirming. We've talked in past that, and I can't believe I'm fixing to say this. That's going to be pushed out everywhere. So it's been a privilege, right? I've been blessed to have good mentors to point me in the right direction of which classes to take and kind of where to sink my teeth in and become good at the job and be into the job. And I've gotten to take a lot of classes. It does take sacrifice, and I'm not trying to paint myself, better than anybody else, but there's money, you pay to go to these classes. That's sacrifice. I've got a wife and 2 kids, and that's time away from them, when I'm already gone, once every 3 days. And, there's always the back, in the back of your head where, I've always been, validated in the respect of I know I'm going to go to these classes and learn this information. And most of the time, probably for no other reason, just to be able to be good at my job and to disseminate that information, right? To mentor others and pass on that good information. But there's always the part in the back of your head where it's like, man, I may never make this grab. I may never go to that fire. I may never do whatever XYZ skill is, but I want to be ready for it. And so I think there's the part in your head that's just like, man, is it really worth it, right? Like, is it worth the amount of time and money that I'm putting to do all this? Is it really worth it? And then, to be a part of a fire where we make 3 grabs and me being able to be part of one of them, but then also too, seeing a guy that I've been able to pour a little bit into and see him be so successful and just crush it, man, it's so affirming, right? I think it's huge.
Yeah, I would, I'd echo that for sure. We start second guessing ourselves. We just got back from a class, right? Mile High in Denver. We spent a couple $1,000s to go to that class and a week away from our family, and it's very difficult. And we start even questioning, am I really making the right decision? Then you got to explain it to your wife. Hey, I'm going to be gone for a week. Now it's going to cost them $2,000. Well, what are you going to do? We're going to learn how to be a fireman. Well, can't you learn how to be a fireman here? That's honestly what you have to explain. And there's really no good way to explain it. You have to feel it. You have to feel when you go to certain classes and certain experiences that you have. But I think it's all about, it just helps develop good firemanship and preparedness. Each of those classes just prepares you. And I think that's what we hang our hat on, right? We're prepared to answer whatever call it is. And I think that's the validation. I've kind of always felt like it's worth it. The classes that we've attended or we've spent the money, internally, I've always felt like it was worth it. And so I'd never really second guessed it. Now explaining how to, how many times can I be allowed to do that per year, because it's hard to leave home. It's hard to leave my son. It's hard to leave my family. And then financially, it's hard to justify spending $2,000 to learn versus $2,000 family vacation. You got to split those. And I think now even my family is starting to understand that after some of the significant events. This is just one. We've had a lot of significant events. We've had strip centers, we've had void space fires, we've had industrial fires. All of that is starting to pay off. We had a fire phenomenon in a house we had to make some critical decisions in. It all matters and it all pays off. And And I kind of got brainwashed by Captain Valley early on. Like, it does matter. Every single thing that you do matters. Every single second, every movement that you make, the speed from what you get from point A to point B matters. That's why if you see him throw a ground ladder, he is throwing it, and as it's hitting the building, he is ascending the steps. You know, he's just the more efficient you can be, the better off. So, you know, I would echo that as well. It does matter. It does benefit you, but it also puts a large responsibility on you, because there's a gravity of harnessing or having that knowledge and skill set and those abilities that you've learned, and you have to share them, because there's some individuals that are super into the job, super ready to learn, and it's your job to share that with them, because you are blessed and able to spend that money and time away. Well, if we can prevent this person or the next person from that maybe can't afford it or doesn't have the time to leave, we have a responsibility to share and pass on that information to our best of our abilities. So the gravity and the weight of that responsibility is the heaviest thing about those outside classes.
Yeah, they've proved like super valuable to me as well, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to replace like some of the experiences and I haven't been to a whole lot of them, but it kind of leads me into the next thing, and it's a thing. It's in the fire service, right? Like those of us that do attend classes, heard it when I went to Nozzle Ford, heard it when we got back from Mile High. Like there are those pockets of naysayers, right? Like that don't really understand like why we're going to these classes, why we're going to these trainings. And like I have a typical response for them, and just like, you know, always try to be super encouraging, but would you have any advice for that one person that may be trying to cultivate a culture of training and outside classes and the mentorship thing, where the only place they're getting it right now is outside of their fire department? Would you guys have any advice for those kinds of people?
Sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to paint our department in a bad light. We've got a lot of great people, but that was us, right? And is us in a lot of ways, right? And I think every department kind of suffers from that on larger and smaller scales. One thing that I know to be true is the loudest are never the most, right? And when you want to disarm somebody who doesn't know what they don't know, you always lead with the why, right? Why am I doing this? Like, and try to be really good at trying to disseminate that information. Right, we come back and they're like, man, why are you guys crawling around the floor, you know, dragging hose everywhere? Real firemen stand up and we go into burning buildings, right? Well, I mean, you can just take it on the chin and be bitter and say, well, you know what, I know this is good training, I've been educated. Or you can try to lead with the why, right, and inform, which is, I mean, where do we find victims, right? If I can't see up high, but I can see low, yeah, I'm going to find victims. We're victims most of the time. Chief Phillips says they're on the floor. Victims are on the ground, right? And so I think if you can lead with the why, you're going to disarm people, right? The loudest are never the most. And by leading with the why, you empower some of the people that are for it, and you inform the people that are indifferent. And I think that's super powerful.
The why is huge because, like you said, the people that are on the line that are kind of curious, but they don't know what they don't know at that point. When you give them that information, then you kind of sway them a little bit. I've seen that happen before.
I mean, I think Mosley would be a great person to answer the question, because he's living that right now.
100%.
As far as he's in paramedic school, he just is trying to get through that part of his career, so he's very busy. However, he's already attended 3, 4, 5 outside classes, and including our own internals. So, how does that mentorship in those classes for you?
Yeah. Shout out Third Alarm and Fireground University. A couple classes that I've attended. You talk about that window-based search and bailing in. Chief showed me a video, and he thought it was so cool. He saw my feet, like bottom of my feet, soles to the sky, right?
Man, that's a T-shirt right there.
Hey, man, and I literally learned that Third Alarm, like live smoke environment, throwing the ladder, clearing the window, and bailing in, right? So it definitely does matter. Like you said, the list of things I got to do, and I still go to training, is because that goes back to, again, just my disposition, right? the moment you make training and practicing about you, when you're a part of a team, but you're missing the mark. You know what I mean? Like we try and make that about us, right? And making sure that you're sharp and that you're skilled. And that is important. But when you're part of a team and a unit, man, you're only as strong as your weakest link, right? So your training and education can't just be about you. It has to be about everybody around you. So those guys that don't want you to do it, tell them, I'm doing it for you. You know what I mean? So I can be the best I can be for you. You know what I mean? So making your training about your team, right? And picking up the slack if you got to, right? The more efficient you are, the less things that get missed. I remember Chief telling me about a TIC class, right? He was taking a TIC class, and he educated us on a piece of equipment that we've been had, right? Things that we didn't even know that it did. I remember him telling me, though, during that class, going back through, they were watching a video, and there was a team that went in, and they missed a victim with the TIC. Like, they missed the victim. And I remember him telling me how much that, like, stuck with him. And he was, like, sick to his stomach, like, wow, like, right there, right by the door. Remember that? Right by the door. Missed him. So even for me, when I was inside and I told Chief where I was at during this fire, and I had just searched that space, it didn't bother me one bit to see Chief research that space, because I remember what he told me from that class that he took, that they walked in and they walked right by a victim. And he was being thorough in that moment to make sure that we didn't do that. Right, so I think it's vital. You know what I mean? Classes and attending and sharing the information that you receive.
Yeah. So, really, just before we kind of close and wrap things up, there was one other thing that I know is super important that we hit on, and realistically, I've labeled it like the aftermath. You know, it's not common. It's not necessarily uncommon, but it's not super common that our department really makes a whole lot of grabs. Right, like we count them on one hand in the last few years. One of those types of things. And neither of any of you guys have ever been a part of or made a grab before, like physically. And so along with that came with like a lot of emotions and a lot of processing and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm kind of curious, like prior to this event, even myself, like right now, had a feeling of what it would feel like to find, like locate and remove a victim from a house fire. How did that feeling, like if you have that feeling built up in your head, how did that feeling feel compared to exactly what you felt after this was over with?
Yeah, so I think it is something that's very important that we discuss, because we've been trained and we've been developed to search and save people, remove people, extinguish fire, check for extension, cut holes. We've been so ingrained in what to do. Let's go to search or rescue specific, is we have just gone over and over and over and over of how to locate and remove victims the quickest way that we possibly can. Out of all the classes that we just spoke with, not one of those have ever prepared us for the aftermath. And it's something that snuck up on all of us, I believe. Me in particular, I just speak for myself. These two gentlemen, this was a team effort, this call, but these two gentlemen are true heroes. I really, honestly, shouldn't even be sitting here. I was just happened to be in the right place at the right time to just help in the situation. The decisions and what they did on the call is extraordinary. It is heroic. It is gigantic, the things that their mentality, the mindset, and the decisions that they made. You know, it's almost for me to, I don't even know how I'm getting impacted, because they were so more involved in the situation than what I personally was. You know, I just ate it. I just hung on, you know. But the aftermath, it hit so hard, and it was so unreal. So I said, when we dropped the victim 3 off, we came back in and we tossed the whole thing over again, the whole thing. And it was pretty physical. The secondary search was pretty physical. We were tossing everything. And we got done with that, and it was just such a significant that anytime that we locate victims, we even go to tertiary searches, and we toss it again. And whenever they began a tertiary search, I just sat in the living room. I just kneeled down in the living room, and that's when everything started hitting me. And like I think he described, everything started hitting him once he was starting to come out. And there's so many emotions and thoughts that hit pretty heavy there. And then once we finished the tertiary search, they brought some animals out. It's time to go out, And once we get out, we've been all these training, all these classes, all these scenarios, all these reps that we put even in our internal department. We come up and we're like, man, we did a good job. High five. Let's do it again. We're ready. Let's go to a fire. In the next 5 minutes, we're good to go. This wasn't the case. We didn't come out. We didn't high five. We didn't smile. We didn't talk to each other. We were just processing the trauma that just occurred, or the event that just occurred. So I think it's important that we kind of discuss those and kind of get out what we were feeling and learn from. So I'll let y'all kind of take on.
Yeah. Chief always, he does what a good leader does and props his guys up.
That's right.
He calls us heroes and thinks that he was just there, right? Just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But I think that connects directly to my belief. And that's how I've dealt with this entire situation. I believe in divine appointment. Mm-hmm. I think we were all where we were supposed to be. I think God specifically placed us on the apparatuses he did, in the houses that he did, with the assignments that we had, right? And I think all of that played a huge factor in how this whole thing, went out. I'm a rookie still, in our department, in our process. Like, I don't know what house I'm gonna be at, right? The house that I was at, I hadn't been in a long time. I don't remember the last time I worked at 6, right? And I think that's evidence of that fact that I was at that place at that time for this event. Oh, yeah. I believe also that the feeling that I had, once I got my bearings about me and was processing this whole thing, was really gratefulness, and worship. To be honest, I was grateful that I had the opportunity, to do that. And God is good. The whole outcome of the situation, he is. I think that we were in the places that we were in too. And me and Brad we've had so many conversations in this light specifically, because I think that he could trust us in the moment to give him the glory, right? So for me, it wasn't about being a hero. Everybody at this table, I remember how many times y'all had to tell me, hey, Mo, do you know how big this is? You know how big this is? Because for me, I'm still learning the grasp of how big it is, in the service, something like this. And to me, it was just man, this is just fulfillment of purpose. This is what we're purposed to do. This is what we're supposed to do. You know what I mean? So that's what it was. Of course, there's a lot of emotions that, get attached to it when you're talking about lives and people saving lives and even losing it, right? So we have to deal with those things in the way that we do. And a lot of prayer, supplication, worship, acknowledging that, like I said, regardless of outcomes, and knowing that going into it, before events, knowing that, I think that helped me a whole lot. Regardless, whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen, right? And I have to trust God in the process, and trust him to sustain me through it and even after. And that's the only way I've been able to deal with, to move on, to find peace, right? Is that I know that I trust him. His plan is perfect, so it worked out the way it was supposed to.
The divine appointment thing, that, I felt that because I was there, right? But I responded on the 3rd Due Ambulance. And of course, I want nothing more than to be sitting where you guys are, selfishly, right? I'm super glad you were there. But me and the driver I was with that day had the same conversation. Bro, if we were on the engine, this would have never happened. You know what I mean? We weren't in those spots for a reason. And furthermore, there were certain events that took place on our role that I personally believe, and I've had this conversation with Chief, that we were put in that position for the right reasons. Because I don't think that there were other people that would have done what we did for, that certain person. So that was huge. Brad, what about you? How did those feelings really differ?
I think there's a lot of commonality.
Sure.
One thing I'll say, I think there's kind of 2 points I'd like to hit, which is, first and foremost, Chief kind of hit on it a little bit. Nobody really prepared me for this moment. And I'll say it was exactly opposite of what I thought I would feel coming out of this. We talked about classes, going to trainings. We practice search. We train on search. We get reps on search. We take it seriously. And most of the time when you come out of an evolution or, you slap hands, high five, like, good job, you guys did really well. You guys searched thoroughly, this, that, and the other. But then to be put in a real fire scene with real victims coming out the other side, it wasn't that. It wasn't high fives. It wasn't anything like that. And I've researched it a little bit with some podcasts and different things specifically to the fire service, and I think it was put really well to me, which is how I describe it now. Which is, I came out of that fire after passing off the victim and researching the bedroom, and I came out and I just remember plopping in the front yard and being extremely overstimulated. I'm a big hugger, a big high fiver, and I didn't want to be touched. I didn't want to be touched. I didn't really want to be talked to. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I remember even in that, just wanting to be around Mo. I know that, he made that first grab of that victim. I, at the time, didn't know Chief was on that grab. And knowing that he's new to the fire service and just knowing how serious he takes the fire ground, I wanted to make sure that he was good because, and I'm not some super senior guy or experienced guy by any stretch, but knowing how I felt in the moment, I could only imagine what he was potentially going through. And so I just wanted to make sure that we were good. And I'll just say, coming out of that, it was really tough and is really tough. I mean, we're a month removed from this incident, or more. And it's something that I'm very much still working through. I think, the other side of that coin that I kind of want to hit on is I very much do believe in divine intervention, and I am a man of faith, and I think that God allowed me and blessed me with the opportunity to be there and to make an impact and make a difference. And the blessing on that side was some of that affirmation of trying to take the job seriously and do it well, and he blessed me with the opportunity to perform, right? We talk about football, I've watched the game film. I'm ready to be put in the game. I want to play, coach. And he let me. And I'm very grateful for that. It's been hard trying to process what this all means. And there's so many emotions, like Chief kind of alluded to. There's so many emotions wrapped up in what happened. I've told the guys, when we left that scene from the drive from the scene back to the fire station that morning, I just remember going through a roller coaster, dude. I was so proud of what we did, but still super angry at some things that went on the fire scene. And in ways I didn't really feel valued at the time. I felt we take this serious, and I in the moment, which they did care, but I felt in a lot of ways that nobody really cared. This is just what we do. And I get that. I'm not trying to make it something it's not. At the end of the day, we knew what we were going to sign up to do, and right, this is part of that. But I just remember it just being really tough and not really knowing how to process it. There's a lot of things running through my head, and I didn't really have a time to really think and decompress in the moment, because that was, that fire came in around shift change, and we got back, and I was working overtime that day.
I was riding with you.
Yeah.
On the medic.
Luckily, we were together, so that was nice. And Chief came in on his day off to talk to us and check on us. And I'll say too, one thing that I feel is such a blessing within this is just realizing that even though the value and affirmation didn't come where I kind of wanted it to, there is definitely people, Chief being one of them, Mo being one of them, people that have reached out to me daily, just wanting to check on me. Hey man, how you doing? How are we doing? How are we feeling? You can talk to me. And so I'm so grateful for that. I think for me personally, this call came at kind of a weird time in my career. I feel like I've been doing the job long enough, and I've kind of stacked a bunch of rocks in my backpack, like the analogy we kind of use. We run hard calls, and each hard call is a rock that you put in the backpack, and at some point that backpack gets heavy. I thought I was really good at processing emotion, and I found out I'm just really good at putting things in a box and locking them in a room and never thinking about it again until I do. And this fire for me kind of opened up a lot of old boxes. And so it's still, we talk about it. It's still really hard to kind of pinpoint what makes this so challenging. The age of the victim, kind of what we did on the fire ground, kind of, where we are in context of our fire department and what we hold valuable. And it's been really hard. But I'm thankful for the people around me that have kind of bolstered me up. I'm thankful for a God who I know loves and cares for me and wanted me there for a reason. And I've grown immensely in my faith and my spiritual walk through that. But, man, if I can just say, it's okay to talk about how we feel about calls. It's okay to not be okay. And I've reached out to some firemen in our fire department that have made grabs and dealt with the emotional side and been kind of transparent with me. And I think coming out on the other side of that, it's okay to not be happy about it. It's not a happy thing. I mean, pulling people out of a burning building, although we did our job well and we can take pride in that, it's not a good thing, right? And that's part of what we do, right? That's part of what we signed up to do is to bear that burden, if you will. And I think you have to reach a place where you find contentment in what happened. And I think through my faith and my hope in Jesus and what I know to be true about him and what he says about me, I can put a lot of hope and faith and there's a lot of peace that comes through that. So
that's awesome. Well, anything else that you guys have? We've covered so much today and probably went a little bit longer than expected, but is there anything else that you guys would like to add as it pertains to any part of this call or, the aftermath part, anything that you guys can think of?
I'm just thankful to be on here and be able to share it, man. Yeah, this is awesome. This is how we get better as a fire service, right? Gathering and disseminating information, dude. That's what it's about. That's how we get better. So thank you for let us do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I hold you guys, all three of you, which my feelings towards y'all, but respect every single one of y'all.
Love
y'all
you
did a bang-up job. I am jealous, selfishly. But thanks, guys. This has been Tailboard Misfits Podcast Relaunch, episode number 1. We got some good things working, trying to get some other stuff lined up. Don't forget to visit the website, get some merch, order a hat, a hoodie. Other than that, we'll catch you on the next one.